when we emerge from reimagination with ideas and actually start running some experiments, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty involved. There's a question I often get during like Q&A sessions or in podcast interviews. People ask me, well, how do you innovate? How do you reimagine things with so much uncertainty in the world? Right? How do you even move forward when there are so many unknowns ahead? The premise of the question is wrong. And I always push back, because uncertainty and innovation aren't antithetical to each other. They're essential to each other. Uncertainty isn't in your way. Uncertainty is the way. In this day and age, if it's worth doing, it's uncertain. Answers have never been cheaper. Certainty has never been cheaper. If there's a playbook, or if your job can be boiled down to a script, right? Do A, and then do B, and then do C. Now a computer can do it for faster, cheaper, with no coffee breaks. So where is the value? Well, the value is in uncertainty. The value is exploring edges that we haven't explored before. The value is helping your clients thrive in uncertain conditions, helping them do things that they haven't done before. If you stick to the familiar, you'll never find the unexpected. It's only in conditions of uncertainty that breakthroughs happen. And there was so much uncertainty in the Mars mission that I worked on. So we sent 2 rovers to Mars back in 2003. Their names were Spirit and Opportunity, and we actually launched them right from Kennedy Space Center. I remember the launch very clearly. They went to the opposite sides of the red planet. And we had some idea of what to expect from these landing sites because we had seen photos of the landing sites taken from orbiters around Mars. But when our rovers landed on the surface, our expectations turned out to be wrong. And I don't just mean like a little bit wrong, but completely and utterly wrong. We had designed these rovers to operate on a Martian surface that just did not exist. So we very quickly had to learn to solve the problems that Mars was giving us as opposed to the problems that we expected to solve. We very quickly had to learn to use the tools on board these rovers for purposes that they were not intended for. I'll give you a couple of examples. So back in 2005, Spirit's right front wheel failed. You might look at that and say, well, the wheel of a rover fails, it's mission over. But navigators figured out a way to drive the rover backward for the rest of its life. On another Mars mission called Curiosity, the drill bit on board the rover broke. Engineers on Earth invented an entirely new way to drill. Using the still functional components on board the rover, they beamed up instructions to Mars, and it worked beautifully. And I think because the people in charge of these missions were so willing to lean into uncertainty, so willing to let go of plans and projections and PowerPoint decks and actually step into whatever Mars was giving us on a day-to-day basis. Because they were so willing to dance with uncertainty, that these missions ended up being extremely successful. We had designed these rovers to last for 90 days on the Martian surface. I still get goosebumps every time I say this, but one of the 2 rovers, Opportunity, ended up roving the red planet for over 14 years into its expected 90-day lifetime. And to be honest with you, we didn't really know what we were doing when we landed on Mars. Like, how can you know what you're doing when you haven't done it before? But I think because we were so willing to do what Rumi had said, right? The way will appear after you start to walk, because we were so willing to walk and so willing to step into whatever Mars was giving us, that that mindset of adaptability and learning carried us forward into an outcome that we could not have imagined. And this is the other thing too with uncertainty. We tend to ask ourselves, like, what's the worst that can happen? And sort of stick to the worst case scenarios, which can be helpful to think about, what are some of the things that can go wrong. But we don't ask ourselves, what's the best thing that can happen if we do this thing that we haven't done before? And this is a great reminder of what's the best that can happen when you walk before you think you're ready.